Greetings and welcome to the energy of Capricorn. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. The Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the Order of the Twin Sun. Please take only what you will. Welcome back for those who have subscribed already, and for those that are new, I shall be conducting a tool known as the Great Mirror. And essentially it's a 9-card spread to show you the apparent karmas of the energy of Capricorn on one side and the opposite, which is usually indicative of the 4th house. Okay. What's going on in astrology currently, at least in the month of July, particularly in the snapshot of July 1st without animation, okay, is an activation when it comes to the 4th house. There's an auspicious Mars in Aries energy that activates the inner world for you to address essentially something that would have to do with your finances, with the realities of the world, because Saturn is in the 2nd house in Aquarius in retrograde. Okay. Now, with it being in retrograde, there's a backward movement, okay, from, I believe, Pisces into Aquarius energy. And what does that mean? With this, one could call it an oscillation. There's a way to look into the limitations that have been set forth when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your career, when it comes to the money you can attain, your own time, your own essence of time, essentially has slowed down to the point where you can see and place faith in the inner world, or perhaps your home, to maintain that in some sort of way. That's interesting. Now we're going to look into the 7th house with this reading. Firstly, would like to put the disclaimer to use your discretion as it pertains to the occult art, to use your intuition. I do welcome you back, and the work I produce, the work the Order produces, is to show light into the darker aspects of so-called reality. Okay, so the number 2 is showing up pretty heavily in terms of your pre-read. There's something about you that can work on the idea of composition, of design, when it comes to facing realities of the world, of karma, even of any sort of action. It has to do with this sort of inflection point where you can actually go in and see in an idealistic fashion, fashion out certain ways or modes of doing things when it comes to your resourcefulness. Okay, the student is here. There's also the element of Virgo here, the mutable aspect, the ability to really look into and analyze certain things about the crystalline process, the ability to essentially create reality. And perhaps there's a point of crisis, maybe tension, but there's a choice that is being made. Okay, one is into the past, one is into the future. The 2 of Rods emerges. Okay, what does this mean? Usually there's a choice made. I would say that both choices have to do with the progression of Pentacles, the progression of Earth, okay, the triplicity of Earth, primarily. There's a mode of doing things, okay, 2 modes at least, and I'm seeing here the ability to embrace Mercury in the future, and in the past to embrace Saturn. Okay, now with Saturn being currently in retrograde, at least for the time of July, and particularly in the time of July 1st in Aquarius, there's an ability to, in this retrograde motion, perceive and perhaps understand the foundations that are tied to ingenuity, that are tied to innovation, okay, and to understand how these may be may require you to be a bit more flexible in the future. This has to do with the ability to embrace Mercury and to balance out certain aspects when it comes to the abstract design of idealism. Okay. That means if there's one way of doing things, there's usually another, and you might realize that these things are very subjective in nature. And it's important to deal with binary systems, morality, deal with way of doing things, and note that there always is a second hand, and there's a way to balance and not really make a choice in the future. Uh, the thing is that the heart is leading. Okay, it's leading to one place or another. If you move to the past, okay, and choose that route, especially with Saturn in retrograde, there's an ability to be gifted something, to revise something. Okay, because with Saturn in retrograde, it heavily affects the Capricorn ascendant as well as the solar or lunar uh, capacities or the placements of Capricorn. And it aspects the second house, okay, as well as it triggers the fourth house in Aries. So with all this, there has to be an element of faith in the choice you make. That's basically it. Now we're moving into the main reading, which is a 9-card spread known as the Great Mirror. The Great Mirror is a tool devised by the Order of the Twin Sun in order to see particularities of karma and your relation to another. This does not have to resonate for you, but if it does, please keep the information secret and secure. And thank you for your time. Okay, we have here the Empress card in the upright. We have the Two of Cups. We have also the King of Swords, King of Pentacles on the opposite end. Elon Aimant, Three of Swords here, and Depart, which is the Knight of Rods here. Okay, primarily I'm seeing the ability to gather potentiality, to gather what is etheric in nature, to understand that there's a connection here that goes deeper than expected. And perhaps there's something about it where there may be a re-examination of what love is, how it is conveyed, how is it contained. And the thing is that with this type of energy, there is also a need to, that's just it, to redefine essentially the ways and means in which the currency of emotion is controlled or let loose. I see here a maneuvering, lots of maneuvering. We're dealing with a very intellectualized nature of how power is attained, for one thing. Here is the energy of Capricorn. We have here the 7, 48, and 50. The energy of Libra, as well as the Two of Cups, and the energy of Aquarius. Okay. If we have this and it's descending in nature from the real world, or perhaps the most surface world, the psychological realm, to the more soul level, something more etheric in nature, we have essentially an intellectualization, a movement from the 7th house to the 11th. Okay, what does this indicate? It indicates an advanced mind, a way of seeing things, a coldness, an objectivity. Okay, because the High Priestess, or rather the Empress is here. This is a very weird Empress card. There's something about it that pertains to the Venusian capacity to rise up, okay, to bring light to certain situations, to also know that it is guided in some sort of way, it is being guided. There also is a lot of movement of the mind, okay? The ability to go here and there, to think about the connection and to understand that there's something greater. Something about the Two of Cups energy here strikes me as this is something that you care about, something that also requires a sort of end of a cycle, okay? Because the bridge is showing the Ten of Swords in the horizon position, okay, which means that there is either a cold detachment or some form of mechanism when it comes to cycles of the mind and the understanding of repetitive patterns, trying to understand these in a psychological framework that could actually give it a great deal of levity, if you will, a great deal of freedom. Okay, the idea here is to treat this type of connection, or at least to come at it from a logical perspective, logical degree or varying degree of intellectual distance. Okay, and I think you would be doing right in doing such a thing. There's a sequence that has to do with the triplicity of air that requires a great deal of objective distance in order to find truth, to find some sort of subjectivity that has to do with the ability to space out and to let loose the mind. Okay. At the same time, this person activates an acumen about the energy of Capricorn that has to do with tending to realities, tending to karma. You're dealing with someone here that is essentially very much geared towards the practical aspects of dealing with realities, harsh realities. Okay, there's a very Saturnian capacity about this person, and it talks about limitation, as well as the ability for time and father time and chronos, and the ability to linearly see something or delineate from their reality very hard principles of commitment and hard work. Okay. To be honest, I don't think you care much about that. It's something that they're dealing with, and there also is a sort of self-absorbed way about them that has to do with the cycles of the triplicity of air, primarily through the seventh house, some form of sacrifice when it comes to their thought process. They don't think much. They're very fixed in what they have to tend to, which is very karmic in nature. It's a reality that does not involve you in a way. At the same time, I don't think you're going to take much in terms of guff or manipulation or anything that has to do with any form of gaslighting or the thing is that their interests are split, and there's a tendency for them to live in an idealistic way that has to do with a very old-fashioned form of romance, or an old-fashioned way of doing things that is somewhat outdated, kind of quixotic, okay? Like Don Quixote, for example, would project very elaborate images of romantic qualities that stem from the Middle Ages and into romanticism, and then into realism, and then the harsh realities of that romantic capacity, not living up to the delineation of time. The thing is that if you honor Saturn, okay, look to the Uranian capacity of order and disorder, of trying to find a sense of logic in a distance of this type of connection, because there is the nine of rods here in their bridge and in the horizon. Okay, and usually this indicates experience. They are about the experience. The thing is that if you detach yourself in an intellectual capacity, there is very little in terms of what can be offered in terms of emotional currency. So this is not a current situation. This is something that comes from a father complex. It has to do with the fundamental primal instincts of fear from a father time figure that would swallow up its children, okay, in order to preserve its own power, okay. So the gross elements here are rather profound. There is a Virgo capacity here that has to do with devotion, devotion to day, doing things in light of day, to also surrendering to Surya, to the energy of the sun, and to fire worship, the ability to purify certain things. Okay, and that's something that you have to honor. Both of you are trying to honor that. There also is here ultimately the Five of Rods in the reverse. Okay, which is an incidental level, something very profound because it deals with reviving the home, somehow reviving the home. Look to the fourth house because you are being blessed with the energy of Aries in the fourth house, activating your second house. You have the ability to clear out certain modes of karma through action that requires a lot more faith, and you would be blessed in terms of the first, second, and fifth progressions. There also is here the auspices of Jupiter, and also pointed towards the Two of Rods in reverse, a choice that cannot be made. The irony is that there is no choice. It's just the action of doing things that would execute some form of harmonic equilibrium when it comes to the element of karma. Okay, how to balance out certain actions. By doing action, you essentially get it done. Okay. And whatever that means, please take it with you. I have no more to say. Other than that, there is a possibility that lots of Scorpio in the polar opposite. I need to focus primarily on the capacity of the real world, as well as your projects, your efforts in terms of work, time, and money, that you can focus on that actually would give you the right type of focus you need. That's all I see. Okay, bye-bye.